Lazav the Multifarious versus Breya Etherium Shaper. And we've opted to keep this hand, so just let our opponent get on with their turn. We have a couple of lands in hand, and we also have means of discard with careful study. So, not sure how exactly we want to play this currently, but a turn 1 training grounds is not bad. I don't know if we still have the bug on Magic Online with training grounds, but what it was doing previously was letting us activate Lazav for 0 mana. So for instance, we could turn Lazav into a Wall of Souls for 0 mana, which we shouldn't be able to do with training grounds, so we'll have to play around that. Don't want to go cheating a victory over our opponent. Okay. Does Demonic Tutor get anything that we would like? I think it might be worth going for Lazav. I'm going to try going for Lazav now. And then maybe Demonic Tutor into a Dreadnought. We'll just shock this in. I don't normally get Lazav out this early, but just to knock the summoning sickness off of it, I'll just have to hope that my opponent doesn't have removal, which isn't a guarantee, of course. We already have card draw in the hand, so even though every fibre of my being doesn't like getting rid of Preordain, okay, Mystical Tutor might get them into some removal. It does. Chainer's Edict is a card that'll do it for them. And they managed to ramp up to their commander, and now we're going to see Chainer's Edict. So that means that we can go for something on our opponent. Not sure if we have a 1 mana counter spell, but we can go for Force of Will. So why don't we do just that? Probably get rid of the Consecrated Sphinx, because I'm not sure how useful it's going to be for us in this game. Just check I don't have anything else. Fact or Fiction, Stifle, no. We don't have Pact of Negation, yeah, it'll just have to be Force of Will. Try and slow our opponent down as much as we can. And then get a tap land off the Verdant Catacombs. And we'll have to remember that Chainer's Edict is in the bin. That's 7 mana. Okay, Search for Azcanta. He's really going to help them this game. Okay, click through that, unfortunately. I don't think it'll matter. In that case, we can... I think we could just try and get down Lazav again. And then we can Intuition into Phyrexian Dreadnought now that we have Vector Asp in our hand. We can discard it with the Careful Study. Or we could Careful Study now. And Intuition at the end of our opponent's turn. I think I like getting... I do just want to get Summoning Sickness off of Lazav, to be honest. I don't think either of these can come in untapped. Can't, so we'll have to go for that. And see what's on top, as usual. Oh, of course they do. Now if they get Breya down, unless they have Mana Crypt or draw into Mana Crypt, which, let's face it, they're going to, they won't be able to do anything next turn. We'll put the land on top. Want as much mana as we can possibly get into. You know when your opponent just has a god hand? I mean, tutor, well, 2 tutors, Chainer's Edict, Swords to Plowshares, Search for Ascanta, rocks to get into your commander. Yeah, pretty good. Don't think there's a whole heap we could do against a hand that just sculpts itself. But their hand is empty, and they're using their resources to keep Lazav off the field, so not totally out of it yet. We'll only be a land off getting Lazav out again next turn, but unfortunately won't be able to protect it in any way. So I think we can careful study next turn. Get rid of the Wall of Souls and the Vector Asp. And see what else we get into. Okay, we get into our Mana Crypt. And Entomb. So that is pretty damn good for us as well. I think we just go for Lazav again. We'll put a stop on our upkeep for that Entomb, although we don't need to do it during our upkeep. See if they've got another answer. And Sunken Ruins we want on top, just in case we need to cast it yet again. Now what do we have in our graveyard? We have the Vector Asp, so we can try and go for a couple of shadow creatures / unblockable creatures with the Intuition. And the Phyrexian Dreadnought. It doesn't matter if they give us the Phyrexian Dreadnought, because we can just cast it and get rid of it. Okay, they're going for their commander. And they don't have the mana to kill Lazav, so we have to try and get the win next turn. Which means, well, let's try and figure out what that means actually. We get a land this turn. Now then. Vector Asp, Phyrexian Dreadnought. I think we have to Intuition. So I don't know if we have the mana to get the win this turn. What we don't want to do is have them put the Invisible Stalker into our hand. So we'll have to get that with the Entomb, because we need hexproof against this commander. It can give us -4/-4 onto one of our creatures. So, right, first things first, Phyrexian Dreadnought. Ornithopter's not necessarily going to help us. Nether Traitor. And the Viscera Seer, I think. just in case we have to... Actually, no, another shadow creature would help, wouldn't it? No. No, I think Viscera, just in case we play into something that we have to hard cast and then sacrifice. I would go for another shadow creature. Oh, right, okay. That's a real shame. It looks like our opponent didn't have anything then. Yeah, I don't understand why. I'm just going to assume that they didn't have anything. I know this player is competitive. They play really spiky builds, so why they wouldn't just... You know, sometimes I'll play through a game and I'll rush plays, and then people will comment and say, oh, why didn't you do this? Or some people will say, you know, by all means slow down, we don't mind, but I'm not necessarily rushing for whoever's watching. I'm rushing for my opponent because they'll do things like this. I don't think I was particularly slow there. Certainly wasn't fast. But yeah, I think what they would have done there is given us the Nether Traitor. We'll just have to hope Modo doesn't quit on us here. I think they would have given us the Nether Traitor, and then we could have gone into Entomb for the Invisible Stalker, 2 mana for the Invisible Stalker, and then we would have had to play through till next turn and then go for Vector Asp into Phyrexian Dreadnought. So obviously we don't know what our opponent was going to go for. Or I should say we don't know what our opponent was going to draw into. I assume those 2 cards are no answer for them because they quit. And if I know anything about Magic players, they don't quit if they have an answer in their hand. They do quit if they have nothing. So maybe they would have drawn into an answer. They were nowhere near the flashback on that Chainer's Edict, so I think we had that, to be honest. We didn't have it this turn, but depending on what our opponent draws into, we would have had it next turn. We certainly would have had hexproof on our commander. So if you enjoyed that, very much appreciated if you hit like and subscribe. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.